Hi everybody, it's the CC and JT Amateur Hour where production values go to die, and yes, we're drunk. No, we're not drunk. Did you get a good night's sleep? I got a good night's sleep.
I slept pretty well.
Slept pretty good, but
good sleeping weather.
Yeah, probably something to do with the 5 tons of snow that we were on. Yeah,
so much snow.
If you get a minute, when you get a minute today, go out to Facebook, TikTok, news site, and Google up Donner Pass.
Wow.
Yes, we were watching some of the TikToks last night, and and it's just incredible the amount of snow out there. It's the most snow we've seen since, like, I don't know, last year.
Yeah, it's not the 60 feet that they got last year, but it dumped.
It dumped. And so it's like you're seeing a lot of folks up there across Donner Pass and on Interstate 80, which connects Reno to Sacramento. There's some folks that are seriously trapped up there in CHP, and the California Highway Department and probably our own Highway Department is probably trying to dig some folks out. Though I wonder sometimes if the semis are in a rush because that's their mobile home.
Right.
And so they're trapped and they're probably thinking,
I'm just going to get some sleep.
Yeah, I'd get to use this opportunity to get some sleep. Now, of course, I'm not speaking for all of them and not speaking from any authority, but still.
No, but it probably doesn't hurt that gives them a chance to just wait things out and rest, because some of those cabs are very luxurious.
Yeah, so it's sweet. But so if you get a second, check out Donner Pass. And yes, we are fully aware of the irony of being trapped at Donner Pass. So
yes,
yeah,
we that's a common topic of discussion in our area because we are so close to Donner Summit.
Yes,
and everyone tends to bring up the Donner Party. So
yeah.
Not something we need to go too deeply into because you all know the story.
And also, seriously, folks, ew.
Well,
yeah.
People do what they need to do to survive.
I just, for myself, I just want to point out my shirt just real quick. Just want to point out my favorite news organization saying hi, thinking of you. They're going through some tough times, so I just want to say shout out, say, hey, hi, Indy, thinking of you. Support local journalism, folks. We do. We support local journalism.
Yep. Keep on keeping on, because that is so important, especially in a year like this.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You're not. And to the politicians who may be silently cheering the troubles, just remember, if you don't have news, you don't find out what's broken, and you don't find out what needs to be fixed. Listen, on a personal note, we're kind of lucky to be where we are. We're still thinking deeply of our family in California and Idaho. We're thinking of them, and we're hoping for their best. They need a lot of strength right now, and they're in our thoughts.
Yes, it's a reminder that we all go through hard times, and really what helps get us through them is family, and whether it's close family, extended family, friends who have become family. It's very important to have those connections in tough times.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to be talking a little bit about writing, and if you are new to this experience, I guess we should always lead with that, but I never do. I should also lead by saying that this is Sunday, March 3rd, 2024.
Right.
This podcast has been in existence since 2020, not a coincidence with the pandemic. We started during lockdown, and what we do is we are writers of a certain age, obviously. I'm in my 60s. She's still still 18 because she never ages to me. But we're writers of a certain age. I'm retired. She's retiring as of the last Friday of the month.
Yes.
5:01 on March 29th.
Yep.
It'll be see you later. But she'll be retired, and we'll be both of us will be dedicating full-time efforts to full-time writing. Now we have our little publishing writing company we call Two More Books.
Right.
And it's not hard to figure out why if you want to Google, but I'm not going to explain it. But we have our...
we may explain it later.
Once I
have severed my ties.
We have several books that we've independently published, and it's across the five major platforms, being Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google Play. And we have paperbacks, we have ebooks, and we do have audiobooks. So, and we are continually working on our company, but we're not going to be talking so much. Well, it is kind of business, but we're not going to be talking too much about our company, except to say that CC is the CEO and the editor-in-chief. And
For now.
pardon me?
For now.
Yeah. and soon to be taking on the reins of being a full-time CMO, which I will bluntly say is my weak point, but it's also our company's weak point up to now.
We'll get there.
We don't have a marketing strategy. We talked about that in other podcasts. No need to repeat that, except we will probably be repeating that in the future. And what I'm doing, I'm just the slug, but I also act as the CFO, the CIO, and the CSO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Information Officer, and Chief Strategic Officer. Basically, what I do is she's vision and I implement.
And he is very good at it.
Yep. And then there's the creative side of it, because we're both writing.
Yes.
We're both writing, though that's not actually what's happening right now, but we'll get to this. But we're diving into this kind of level of depthness because as you as an independent writer, you are probably, if not most certainly, struggling with the same challenges that we do. And they're all for all writers, because you need to have marketing, you need to have somebody watching the money. You need to have marketing. I'll just say it again, because without the marketing,
you have no money.
You have nothing. Even if you have all these books, if you're not doing the marketing thing, then you're going to be struggling. But you're going to need some sort of company infrastructure. And so what we're going to be talking about is the editor-in-chief part of two more books. And so we're going to be using my Space Epic stuff as a guide. But before we dive into that, I've been talking nonstop and I need coffee. So your turn.
So with my impending retirement and the fact that we're diving more deeply into doing this full time for the both of us, one of the things that we have done is that we've amped up our seating area that you can see back here. We have matching recliners back here now, and this does factor into the editing process that we are about to talk about, because JT has finished his first pass of what is currently a trilogy. The first draft is done. You've mentioned that there are some things you want to clean up, but basically for all intents and purposes, that draft is done. So one of the reasons that we've amped up our seating area is that when you're a full-time writer, there is a lot of time spent sitting in front of a computer, sitting in your office chair, sitting in a coffee shop, whatever. And on days, especially like the one we have outside right now, it's kind of nice to be able to hunker down at home, but maybe you don't want to sit at your desk all day. So what I'm currently doing is I have my laptop over here by the recliner, and I am reading through the first draft of the Space Epic. So this does play into both retirement and enjoying, evenings together watching movies, but also me being able to sit down comfortably for endless hours, because it takes a lot of work to read through the first draft of the Space Epic.
Yeah, it's 3 books. There's over 220,000 words, and yeah, yeah. And there, as Cece said, there's things that need to be fine tuned. But I'm going to talk real quick about what our editing process is, and this editing process has been pretty much applied through all of the books, and it seems to work for us, and. The reason that we're going to go through that, I'll come back to that. So write the book.
Yes.
Write the book.
You can't edit if you don't have anything written.
Right. And then just earlier this month, I hit, even though I knew, and there still continue to be major weaknesses, I stopped writing it because I'm so tired of writing this book. 3 books, average 70,000 words a book. Tired of writing this book. Then I did a major editing. Well, what I did is I had a punch list. I had a punch list. Like if you're in construction, is it punch list or punch card?
No, it's a punch list for construction.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in construction, you know that you've heard of the phrase punch list, and that's what I had. As I was writing the book, I was doing punch list, and I had 20 or 30 items on the punch list, and I worked through them as best as I could to get the punch list done, and that was the first editing pass. And then there was the major editing pass where I tried to clean up as many plot holes as possible. It's not done. There's still plot holes to be done, but God, I am so sick of this book. And so it's time to turn it over to the editor-in-chief. Now, what the editor-in-chief is doing is she's going to be doing the first pass.
Yes, a complete read through of all 3.
Right. So that way,
2/3 of the way through the first book.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, as you saw, Since we do it using Google Docs, JT gets a notification if I make an editorial comment in the manuscript. I did make a couple comments very early on, and then I realized it was going to take me forever to get through the books because I'm not doing that level of editing right now. I'm editing it for context, for continuity, for plot holes, and just to give an overall feeling of how is the story going.
Right. So she will get through that, and then she'll do it again. She'll do it again because then and the reason that doing the quick read through is because since it is a 3-book series, we need to make sure that the beginning makes sense with the end, and that the middle makes sense to the end,
and that the characters are consistent. That the only changes that happen with the characters make sense in the context of the story. You know, what happens to them is obviously going to change them in some way, but you don't want it to be out of character.
Right.
So there are a lot of little nuances you have to look at to make sure the story stays clean, especially through a 200,000 word trilogy that's all being written at once.
Right. And so that's going to be March.
That's at least probably
because,
going into April too.
Yeah, because CC is still fully employed. So it's that's for some strange reason the state of Nevada expects you to work. Right?
Yeah, well.
Anyway, I'm not going that.
This, I will say, well, yeah, we're actually a little less now because,
Yeah, anyway.
Anyway, I will say that on the day job front, that is a very different experience, as you know, that your last few days are coming up, that the level of work that is expected of you tends to diminish, but you're still trying to kind of clean things up and make sure everything, and it's a little bit like editing, actually. It's, you're going back and looking at things that are in progress to make sure that you've covered everything. So it's kind of funny how that ties into what I'm doing at night.
So, yeah. And y'all know what we're talking about. Y'all have left jobs, so you know that. But to leave the last job, is kind of it's surreal. But
the last job in this part of my life, because as we mentioned, we are working on a company,
right?
And it will be work, even though we both enjoy it a lot. It won't feel as much like work, but it's it's more based on our. How we're feeling throughout the day. We can kind of be more flexible with our assignments and our meetings and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, she says that, but you know what? When she becomes the full-time CEO and she's going to be looking at me, it's like,
get to work.
Creative staff, get to work. Work. Okay. So she'll do her 2 passes.
Yep.
And then I will take that and I will make the updates. And so that could actually take us through all of April.
Right.
That could take all of April, and then reach a certain point that I'm going to send the book off to the first book, off to the professional editor, Red Adept. Always my favorite and only professional editors I've used since day one.
That's not 100% true.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
You had the Awesome Aunt.
The Awesome Aunt actually edited my very first book.
And she was a professional editor in her career, so
it's not like we were giving my aunt just work. She was actually that was her job.
Yep, she was an editor and proofreader for a big name traditional publisher.
Right. So and then once that book comes back with those, and then I'm going to be doing another big lift, because not only will there be changes that have to be made in that book, but there'll be changes that have to follow down, follow through to the other books.
Yes.
And then we'll figure out something that we'll do for the cover, and then we'll, do the marketing, which by then we'll be able to dedicate full time.
Right.
Yay. And then we'll release the first book, and then we'll think about releasing the second, third book. And we'll be going through the same cycles with the second and third book, though not at the same level of detail, because we'll have pretty much
have set the groundwork for all of the character work should be done, all of the plot holes should be filled. So at that point, it should be just making those editorial changes, grammar, punctuation, and things like that, making sure everything flows smoothly. Try to catch as many typos as possible because they always sneak in.
Right.
No matter how many times you edit.
It doesn't matter how many eyeballs there are on it. Typos get through it. But I just want to say up front, my name's on the cover. If my name's on the cover and there's a typo, that's me.
The buck stops here.
The buck stops here. Okay.
So it's going to be a long process, and I know that some authors are able to say, okay, this is the date we're going to publish the book. I don't think we're at that place yet. I don't know if we'll ever be at that place, but kudos to you if you are able to plan in advance, get into an editor's schedule, proofreading, cover design, all of that stuff, and have a date and actually be able to release your book on that date.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah, well, you've heard our process, and so
Yep.
the question that we always have is, are we overthinking it because we always overthink things, or are we missing some steps here? But this has been fairly the process. This is the process that's worked for several books,
Yes.
and for good or bad, it lends to what I feel is a professional product. Now, and I just want to touch on it just very, very briefly because. When I publish one of my books, I want it to be something that is worthy of the time and money, especially the money that somebody is putting into it. Because I've seen some books out there where Uncle Joe has done the cover and somebody has done the editing. And I did a book like that. It was actually my second book, which you will never find. That was, and it was, there were too many plot holes. There wasn't enough foreshadowing. And the cover sucked, and there were just way too many typos. I was embarrassed by it, and the reason for that was, and the reason that it happened the way it did is because I thought I could do everything by myself. Ha!
And to be fair, there are people who can do
Yes.
most of the work themselves. I'm sure, especially starting out, a lot of independent authors will do more of the work themselves because it costs a lot financially, not just time, but financially, to get a book out there onto the market. And as we know, people tend to want to get the books that are less expensive because especially people who read a lot, do a lot of reviewing and things like that, it doesn't make sense for them financially because they're probably working a day job and they have to go out and put their money into it. So you want to make sure they're getting a product that they feel like it was worth the money they spent on it, the time they spent outside of their regular job to read it. And so it becomes a matter of pride, but it's also, most people I think want to put out a good product.
Yeah. Nobody goes out of their way to send something out with typos or with a weak cover or anything like that. They're doing their level best with what they can. And I don't mean to imply that folks don't do that, but I also see room for improvement.
Right.
Room for improvement. And as Cece said, unfortunately, that room for improvement is tied directly to money.
Yeah.
And folks either can't or won't spend the money. And I totally respect that because it is expensive because we were talking at our company meeting. Yes, we have regular company meetings. We were talking at a regular company meeting on upcoming expenses and cringing because, here come expenses. And we'll be on super fixed incomes unless this writing thing ever works out.
So buy our books. The point, though, I think that you're making is that we do have the expenses and we want to spend the money to make sure we're putting out a quality product. We're not really saying that we shouldn't be spending the money, but what we're saying is, especially when you're first starting out, and with us going into retirement fixed income kind of situation, it is a little stressful, and you try to cut corners wherever you can without affecting the quality of the product.
But it's a struggle.
It is.
It's
a struggle for any independent
It's a struggle
author.
for anything, but it wouldn't matter if it was writing, if it was needlepoint, it was something that
Yes.
a hobby that you do. It's not eBay, but what's the
Etsy.
Pardon me?
Etsy.
Etsy. Yeah,
Yep.
if you're an Etsy person, you have the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, money is always the big sticking point because what we really want to do is something that we enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that readers will enjoy it too. We would love to just give it all away for nothing, but it does cost money for us to put it out there. And as we mentioned, going into being on more of a fixed income, I mean, technically we already were because I was at a point in my career where things were pretty flat and nothing was going to happen beyond where I got. But it's, it feels a little bit different when you know that you're just getting this one check a month for each of us. And we're hoping we're hoping to augment that income with something that we really enjoy.
And we're not complaining. We're not
No,
complaining.
no.
This is just the state of affairs. We
Yep.
recognize what's going on, and we just want to augment. But we also want to do something that we enjoy, that we love, and we
Yep.
do love working together. That's
Yep.
how we first met. We met by working together. We did it a couple more times over the last X number of years. And here we are
Oh,
again.
that's
Someday
true.
we'll learn.
You had another company, and I was actually your
Yeah.
your office person.
Yeah.
So in the early 90s, back when it was more common for people to know almost nothing about their computers, he started his own IT company, and he would help people get their computers set up, download their programs and stuff like that. And so I was doing kind of the background.
Yeah.
So this is not a new situation for us. We're not going into a totally new thing where we're going to be
Yeah.
fighting each other all the time, because we do work really well together.
Yep. You done?
I'm done.
You sure? Okay, so like we said, if you've got ideas or anything like that about how we can improve our process, or if you have questions about our process or anything like that, please feel free to reach out and let us know what your feelings are on this. Especially if you've been doing this for a while, you feel that we're doing things unnecessarily. And we do also acknowledge that there are steps that we are skipping. For example, beta readers and writers groups and that kind of feedback. And the reason for that is because, well, I'm rather reclusive. You wouldn't know that from, videos and podcasts and TikToks and all that crap, but I'm shy. And so,
We are both introverts, and I think even though you have been home a lot, you do like to interact with people. It's just, okay, so maybe you don't. I do, but it takes a lot of energy to, I enjoy talking to people, but then I really need to have quiet time to rest up. And that's part of the problem with the day job, I think, is that I do have to interact with people, public, my coworkers and things like that. And so by the end of the day, I'm completely drained.
yeah, and given the choice of going out or staying in when I first wake up in the morning.
Yes, I'm looking forward to being able to get up and kind of go where the day takes me, instead of saying, oh, well, it's this time, I have to get out the door.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's the big time editing process for 2 more books. What's exciting, I didn't, we should have glossed over it, is we got new books coming out.
Yep.
Later this year, maybe summerish sometimes. We just have to sort of figure out, and we have to find our schedule. We have to find the editor's schedule. We have to do the cover. Believe me, the cover is a never-ending point of debate here between the CEO and the creative staff.
No, I'm not debating. I'm saying what I'm envisioning based on what you've told me, versus the author having a creative vision, and that's perfectly fine. It happens all the time. And honestly, I think as the author, the final decision should be yours.
And we'll figure that out when we get there.
Yes.
So if you have any feedback or any ideas on how we can improve, or if you have any questions on our process, we sure love to hear back from you. Because hey, it's fun, and we should talk about why we even do the podcast and the YouTube, and it's like because we don't get a lot of we don't have a really humongous audience. We have like 2 or 3 steady people. And so the question always comes up, we always ask ourselves, why to go through this effort? Because this thing takes like 4 hours a week just to do the podcast, to do the YouTube, and to do the associated social media. Why do we even bother? Because we may not be super busy or super famous today, but maybe by the time you see this, you'll be interested.
You may be looking back at the early steps of our success, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And having all of this, like you mentioned, it's been almost exactly 4 years. I think maybe we started in April of 2020. And we started it as something we were both obviously working from home at that time. We were still full-time employed. And it was just something we were kind of trying to pass the time during a difficult situation. And we found out that we really enjoy, on my part, I like the chance for us to kind of sit down. We have uninterrupted time together. We get into some interesting conversations. I've mentioned it before, but during one of our podcasts, we had an earthquake. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. In 159 episodes, here we are.
Here we are. And I think we've gotten better. I know when we first started recording on digital video, or whatever you want to call it, You were very nervous. By that point, I'd done a few things, so I wasn't quite as nervous, but I think it's become more relaxed. We're
Yes,
getting
but
better.
but for my fans, I've had to go into a diet and I've had to go into muscle routine, so it's like
Okay, so
okay, never mind.
do you think he would make a good romance cover novel?
Oh God.
Hey, Book Talk, weigh in.
God.
If we need an older, the hot, virile older man, here he is. At least for me.
We're going to be having another company meeting later. Going to be about 20 minutes. Okay. Now that I've embarrassed everybody, you can catch this podcast and other podcasts on our YouTube by going to our website at www.carsonhume.com, where you can find all sorts of ideas and, of course, links to our book, buy our books. And you can give us
Subliminal
feedback, and you can hear about our adventures. And we're going to have a great 2024. It's already been great so far.
Yes.
But our 2024 is going to continue to be great and evolve because we will be taking trips, we will be discovering America, and we will be eventually talking about a project we're very excited about. That's on a book that's coming out in 2025. First up, though, got to release 4 books before we get that far. It's going to be the 3 space epic one and book 3 of the Maggie series. So those books will come first before this fantastic project that we're going to be literally traveling for later this year, and we'll be talking about that probably from the site of that project.
Yes.
You know,
is that where you're going to basically release the news?
We're going to be taking those. We're taking those with us.
Okay, cool.
We're taking those with us, and we're going to be.
That will be a fun podcast.
That will be a fun podcast. So we're going to be having some fun there. We need to find a place to do it, but we're looking forward to it. Okay, so we'll let you go. Thank you for following along. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. I can't think of anything else. Can you?
He mentioned that 4 books will be coming out, but hopefully I will be augmenting that myself with some of my own books because I do have a lot planned. Yeah. And one of mine, at least, as we're doing our road trip, I will be doing research for that as well. Yep. So we have a lot coming up.
Yeah, we've got it.
Stay tuned.
This trip we're looking forward to is a big research trip.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And to our favorite IRS agent, we hope that you accept that it's a write-off.
Please. At least part of it.
Please. Okay. Cece.
JT.
We hope that you have a wonderful week, that if you're affected by the snow, you're able to dig out and not hurt yourself. And we hope that you take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Anyway, love you lots. Bye.
Bye now.